Oh, merge! You had your... Come on, you got to seize the goddamn gap. People are so goddamn inefficient. Oh, god damn it! I don't care if you're old, seize the gap!
Los Angeles is known for its endless traffic jams and car culture. But did you know that these congestion issues are entirely self-imposed, and that Angelinos today continue to sabotage themselves? There's a first-world irony of a flat, warm, and spacious city with this many self-inflicted city planning and traffic mismanagement problems. Structurally, LA has a natural foundation to be a bikeable city in every way. Flat geography, good weather, space, but has an unnatural political barrier. Outdated policies, political obstruction, and a vocal subset have kept the city chained to its car-dominated past. I'm investigating how a city built for bikes ended up being built against them. What's stopping real progress from being made, and who's being impacted the most. This is To understand why LA, a city seemingly perfect for biking, has so few cyclists, we need to look back, before highways, to the era of the electric streetcar. Modern LA grew alongside mechanized transit. Because Los Angeles had grown up with mechanized transportation, it never developed the density of East Coast cities. Private companies like Pacific Electric built vast streetcar networks, letting Los Angeles to spread outward, building an unparalleled amount of single-family homes.
Brother, what a problem. The population keeps growing.
By the late 1920s, most planners supported this layout, and LA residents became reliant on streetcars, taking twice as many rides as those in other major cities. Companies often laid tracks before securing city approval. Though streetcars ran at a loss, the rising land values made up for it, a model of transit-oriented real estate. But when LA's expansion slowed and cars became affordable, the streetcar system declined, and Angelinos became drivers. The car was pushed socially and economically, but after World War II, also mandatorily. The Federal Highway Act of 1956 authorized the construction of the interstate highway system, which provided 90% of federal funding for a nationwide network of roads, incentivizing states and cities to prioritize highway projects over transit alternatives. Urban planning and transportation policy at all levels became focused on accommodating increased automobile traffic. And the number of vehicles in the United States between 1950 and 1970 grew 3.8 times faster than the human population. As urban renewal swept America, the process of clearing out areas deemed blighted, which usually meant high-density working class and areas of color, with the promise of new housing, which was never built. However, cars and business infrastructure was.
Increasingly, we are seeing large-scale demolition as the first step in building modern cities. Getting needed space in our cities for modern structures is the only way to meet the competitive force of growing suburban strength.
This meant dozing dense and settled communities such as Bunker Hill and Chavez Ravine. The car wasn't offered as one option, it was the only option. LA was remade around the narrow vision of success that urban renewal promised, sidelining density and transit. So despite being the second largest US city, driving remains essential. And if you hate traffic, living near your job is prohibitively expensive.
Let's show up to work and everybody be like, why is there blood all over you? Because I had to slit the guy's throat who causes all the traffic!
Los Angeles is dominated by car infrastructure with nearly 6 million parking spaces, 1.5 per resident, including children. And with 76% of workers pre-pandemic driving alone to work, it's no wonder your older relatives are so neurotic. They spent more time in the car with Alex Jones than their spouses.
Get off the road, you freaking maniac!
Yeah, you jackass!
Shut up!
Been listening to your show. There's always people going on about problems in school. Guns, people showing disrespect to teachers. Schools are breeding grounds for crime, ain't they?
Well, I guess it seems that way.
Well, I got a real simple solution. Shut them down.
So what will LA do about its transportation problem? Options range from Elon Musk's Tesla tunnels to maintaining congestion hell to the most practical option of implementing transit alternatives like biking. Though often proposed, these alternatives have repeatedly failed. During the Reagan era, the elimination of most federal support and a greatly increased role for private industry was a condition for the proposals of transit alternatives. And the electric streetcar's collapse showed that model had serious flaws. Bike lanes, which generate no revenue, were usually left out of the conversation, while costly car-centric solutions like the $1.5 billion 405 freeway expansion only worsened congestion. This isn't a project about cycling effectiveness. There's plenty of research on that. This is why LA has barely given alternatives like cycling a real try. In 2015, for the first time since 1999, the LA City Council approved the Mobility Plan 2035, a sweeping transportation policy aimed at fixing the transit issues and appealing to voters tired of the status quo.
What is the goal of having the cars having to share hundreds of miles of streets with bikes and buses?
Well, the goal is to make our public rights-of-way available for everyone. As we right now in Los Angeles, there's more people who want to ride their bikes.
The plan promised a multimodal transportation network that meets the needs of all users of roads, streets, and highways, including protected bike lanes, bus lanes, pedestrian safety, and transit upgrades. Developed over 5 years with extensive public input, it seemed like a win. Fewer drivers meant less congestion and a more accessible city. But after the adoption, lawsuits, notably from Fix the City, claimed procedural and environmental review flaws. The council readopted the plan in late 2015 after review, it was upheld, and it remains to be the guiding LA transportation policy. Yet nearly a decade later, only about 5% of the mandated streets have been completed. For a 20-year plan, that's a near-dead implementation. Burned again, voters passed Measure HLA, with over 65%. It didn't propose new streets or policies, just required the city to implement its own mobility plan improvements during street work like repaving. Still, despite strong public support, HLA met steep criticism. Asking the city to follow its own plan shouldn't be controversial, but in LA, it is.
This is awesome.
Many residential interest groups, such as the ones who oppose the mobility plan, also oppose HLA. There's a label wielded both dismissively and defiantly by these individuals, NIMBY. What is a NIMBY? It stands for Not in My Backyard. Residents who oppose new development or infrastructure near their homes, often favoring car-centric single-family living. Groups that oppose the mobility plan and HLA are often labeled NIMBYs. Though lacking broad public support, they make up for it with strong organization and legal action. Understanding the debate means also considering their concerns. The interest group Keep LA Moving, for instance, calls for a world-class transportation system for cars, transit, bicycles, and pedestrian, and calls Measure HLA a fraud, stating that they have the facts. So to unpack why LA has only implemented 5% of this plan, I've compiled the most common arguments from the multimodal street's biggest critics. Laura Lake is a member of one such organization who did successfully sue the city to temporarily block the mobility plan, though their concerns were eventually pushed away because of lack of evidence.
This EIR says it's going to slow down the department even more.
The metric Laura is referring to is purely theoretical and has been disproven, with practical evidence such as after the implementation of bike lane and bus lane in Culver City, resulting in no change in emergency response time. She also parrots the idea that the fire department was not consulted on the plan, which is fundamentally untrue.
Have they been shut out of the process so far for the reasons that Laura Lake suggested?
You know, I don't believe they have, but
A small subsection of firefighters actually agree with Laura in opposing HLA, notably United Firefighters 112, who wanted to redirect bike funds to the fire department. California Professional Firefighters President Brian Rice said, "We have a public safety crisis in this city. We're talking about bicycles," adding, "I damn well be the first in line to get every single penny." UFLAC President Freddie Escobar called HLA full of lies after spending $100,000 to fight it, claiming it would strain the city budget. But this claim is undermined by UFLAC's own scandal. Escobar allegedly oversaw 1,957 undocumented credit card transactions, and the union was placed under conservatorship after $800,000 was misused.
The more you're burning fossil fuel, and the more smog you're putting out.
I don't even think I really need to break this one down considering they lost the lawsuit, but more bikes on the road does not increase pollution. The group Laura is a part of has launched dozens of lawsuits against transit, mixed-use development, homeless shelters, bike lanes, and other things 65% plus Evangelina support. Yet, no one knows who they are.
The idea is to tackle two problems with one stone: a housing shortage that's pushed prices to record levels, and pollution by getting people out of their cars. But the program is now being challenged by an organization with a long history of fighting new development. The nonprofit Fix the City is suing to end the program. Where does Fix the City's money come from? Because your lawsuits impact the entire city and its landscape, so I think it's a fair question to ask. Where are you funded?
No, it's not a fair question.
City, you've indicated in other places that you may go to court over this. How would you sue? What charge would you make?
Well, we would challenge the lack of substantial evidence.
I point out the backlash against bike safety improvements for a key reason. It doesn't matter if the arguments made are nonsensical. For instance, in 2013, the Rowena Road Diet in Silver Lake was implemented. It reduced 4 lanes to 3 after a pedestrian death. Since then, a study showed 0 deaths with less speeding, fewer injuries, and no increased congestion. Despite its success, the lane remains controversial. As one local told LAist, every year we're defending this bike lane right in front of an elementary school. With car crashes being the leading cause of death for 4 to 14-year-olds in LA County, targeting safer streets near schools reveals opposition mass this concern.
I don't know if it was a conscious decision, if it was a top-down thing or somebody behind the scenes was talking about it, but they really figured out that they just have to complain. All that stuff, even when it wasn't logical, if you just complain enough, what ends up happening is that it soaks into the overall consciousness. Even if it's incoherent, just flooding the zone with negativity, it does add up over time.
Yes, we need more affordable housing, but we also need to pay a prevailing wage.
I want to pause you there, because are you saying that your real concern is about people not making living wages?
Detective lotion. There is an idea of a Patrick Bateman, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory.
Negativity will always defeat positivity in the long run. The person who is the most negative and who sticks to that negativity and doesn't let go, they will win the argument.
Even when bike lanes succeed, like in Culver City, they can be ripped out. In 2023, a new council removed them at a cost of $1.4 million, despite data showing no traffic improvement from this removal.
Just sort of the machine of municipal government in LA pops out, more parking and more car lanes and more car capacity, and you really have to, I'm taking the city to court right now for not building bike lanes that they were legally obligated to.
Los Angeles has the climate, space, and public support to build safer, more sustainable transportation. But decades of car-first planning, legal obstructionism, and a loud minority opposition keep progress stalled. This isn't just about bike lanes. It's about how a city supposedly built for everyone repeatedly fails to serve the majority. Plans get passed, mandates ignored, and when change finally begins, it's chipped away by lawsuits, delays, or political reversals. If a better city is possible, it won't come from a silent support. It'll take people willing to show up, push back, and demand that Los Angeles finally live up to its promises.